Hello and welcome to News Tonight. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. We'll dig into it. The NGO Bureau is concerned with the conduct of NGOs that have gone ahead to paint a picture that the president ordered the suspension of DGF on wrong advice. Patrick Onen Ezaga, the public relations officer, told journalists at Media Center that the president acted within his powers and therefore called for the affected NGOs to respect government decisions. Ivan has more on this.
Who are the NGOs?
Non-governmental organization National Bureau has castigated 9 NGOs for engaging in dissatisfactory activities following the suspension of democratic governance facility in Uganda by the head of state.
The premature actions by some of these NGOs has created anxiety among the public without adequate facts, hence precipitating uncalled for conclusions, a diversion and distraction from the concerns raised by His Excellency the President.
The NGO Bureau spokesperson, Patrick Onen, discourages NGOs from operating in isolation.
To desist from uttering and issuing disreputable statements, as any continued action in this part will certainly attract appropriate reprimands.
The matter of democratic governance facility suspension is still at cabinet level for a long-term solution.
Is a caution to NGOs to be careful about what they say. It's not to say don't say.
Until the democratic governance facility clears issues pertaining to its official position over its suspended activities, Patrick urges NGOs to follow administrative routes to operate under the current circumstances.
And prepare a report highlighting, among others, the nature and importance of the support they were receiving and the impact the suspension of DGF has on the activities, and avail such information to the investigating authorities through appropriate channels.
The non-governmental organization National Bureau is in charge of regulating 2,228 NGOs legally registered as of February 1st, 2021 to operate in Uganda. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News.
Not for
And in today's leading story, the National Unity Platform prayers to court seeking for an amendment have suffered a stillbirth after the principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byarahanga, used the 2016 John Patrick Amama Mbabazi versus Museveni case to form a basis upon which the NUP's prayers for an amendment to their earlier petition fell off the cliff to be considered as it was in its original format. Now, in this report, treading carefully with facts, the Attorney General told court that the Mbabazi versus Museveni court ruling of 2016 pointed to a fact in its recommendations that it required time to file and deliver any verdict in any petition, a position that the very Supreme Court has concurred with in its ruling to maintain the status quo of the adhering to NUP's evidence in the earlier petition. We'll bring you that story later on, but for now, a team from the Inspectorate of Government of that is in West Nile, carrying out a verification exercise on how communities benefited from the Northern Uganda Social Action Fund. Now, this follows the suspension of Arua district from receiving over 450 million shillings meant for the communities that were allegedly misappropriated by the former Chief Administrative Officer, Ochango Ismail, and a non-government organization identified as I beg your pardon, and a non-government organization. We have Uganda People's Defence Forces, the UPDF, is to start investigations into alleged unbecoming operations in the fishing sector, which has of recent pinned the army officers attached to the Fisheries Protection Unit. Chief of Staff Land Forces of the UPDF, Major General Leopold Chanda, has assured Ugandans of better service delivery after meeting with representatives of a section of fisheries organizations in Uganda. Now, the meeting held in Kololo, a Kampala suburb, noted how the recent political season caused more mayhem than good in the fisheries sector after a section of politicians fed false news to the fisheries communities. Let's take a look.
Involvement of the army in the fisheries sector through Fisheries Protection Unit has on several occasions been a scapegoat to the increasing crimes related to the fisheries sector in Uganda. The alleged offences involve mishandling and compromise of the fishing activities in various water bodies of Uganda. This follows cries by several stakeholders in the fishing sector, which also witnessed the Speaker of the 10th Parliament, Rebecca Altwala Kadaga, ordering a halt on the FPU operations on Ugandan lakes in 2019. In the recent political season, several politicians, including Forum for Democratic Change former presidential candidate Patrick Oboy Amrit, was seen criticizing the army involvement in the fishing operations.
You are claiming the fish is undersized, but it is found on the market.
Now, a committee led by the Chief of Staff, Land Forces of the Uganda People's Defence Forces, Major General Leopold Chanda, has met leaders of the several fisheries organizations in Uganda to discuss modalities of working with Fisheries Protection Unit, FPU, and harmonizing on the operations of the different fisheries organizations so as to improve on the fish stocks in the country's lakes amidst reports of re-emergence of illegal fishing practices that is threatening the fishing industry.
You get to understand that we are doing it for the good of all of us, and we are not targeting any of these associations.
The leaders observed that since the political season in the country, there had been a significant reduction of the fish output from the lakes due to politicization of the operations of the FPU.
Very true, there has been a bit of laxity, and as I talk, by the way, there's a number of small canoes have come back, and a number of bad gears have come back. But now that we have talked all about that one, and the general has assured us of full participation of FPU, I think we are going to go back to our levels of the November, October, and August. So,
FPU and all the fisheries organizations were tasked to step up on their operations to arrest the deteriorating situation, but caution to act within the law at all times.
So we encourage and ask the Fisheries Protection Force to intervene and stop this trade in immature fish to save our resource.
Major General Chanda promised the leaders that there were arrangements to make in-depth investigations on not only the capital offences raised, but on all the complaints registered.
We also would like to hear from you the challenges faced during the operations of the FPU personnel, both on your side, how you interact with them, but also what you have observed. What are the limitations? What are the challenges that the FPU personnel face? How your associations intend to continue supporting FPU operations, and how you wish to be supported by the government.
General Chanda said the day's meeting was also aimed at bringing to light the procedures for operating with FPU personnel and establishing challenges involved in operating with FPU and mapping a way forward for improving the fishing industry in general.
Of course, as we carry out our investigations, we shall interact.
Daniel Mugoya, UBC News.
And Parliament has deferred the passing of a supplementary budget to Thursday this week following missing links raised by members of Parliament. Top among the concerns was the procurement of ambulances, and a program legislators say does not cater for hard-to-reach areas. The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, agreed with the MPs on the consideration of motorized boat ambulances for island districts.
In the supplementary budget requests presented by the Vice Chairperson of the Budget Committee of Parliament.
The committee therefore recommends that Parliament approves a sum of 2.27 billion shillings to State House to facilitate the completion of the research for the anti-tick vaccine.
Patrick Ishagi is also the Member of Parliament for Kachumbala County in Bukedia district. Among the supplementary votes was that of procuring over 200 ambulances for local government units across the country.
So the committee therefore recommends Parliament to approve the release of 34.6 billion to Minister of Health to procure the ambulances but not pickups.
Good as the move may be, members of Parliament were not convinced.
I just have one question. On page 8 on the issue of ambulances, I would just want confirmation that the islands have got what ambulances. I don't know whether these are to be used on the road or even in the islands.
There's no way you can say they are planning to buy pickups or ambulances for 254 districts, and then you think later on when it comes to implementation, they will consider the islands.
This ministry has ever bought ambulances which are double cabin pickups. So the specification must be known ab initio. So if they are ambulances and if they are for islanders, what type? If they are for people on islands, are they going to be special boats that have all those conditions that they, but there are so many ambulances that were bought, Madam Speaker, by the same ministry when we are double cabin vehicles.
In fact, we need to give also due consideration for this. There are also ambulances, aircrafts, these small ones, which could help reach actually access those places which are not accessible by these vehicle double cabins for purposes of giving due consideration to all parts of Uganda which are hard to reach.
As if that was not enough, the request for land compensation funding attracted more suspicion.
So government found it fit that this land is bought by government from the one Kichoncho Medad, coming to a total of 3.844 billion.
Who carried out the valuation to ascertain the figures that are reflected in the supplementary budget? That let the minister just ask for time and reconcile these issues with the chairperson of the land commission, or we disregard the issue of that compensation and move with the rest of the items.
Not even an explanation by the Minister for Lands, Betty Kamya, was enough to calm the heat. This prompted the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, to defer the matter for further scrutiny.
Brought to the Minister of Finance and brought all these matters to him and asked the Uganda Land Commission and asked the Minister of Finance to provide funds for Uganda Land Commission, and the letter was copied to the Uganda Land Commission almost 3 months ago.
Until today, tomorrow, Tuesday, until Thursday. And,
Madam Speaker,
we shall stand over the entire supplementary until Thursday.
Madam Speaker, we had the other.
Whether the concerns raised by legislators on the proposed supplementary budget will be met is an answer that Ugandans will get on Thursday. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Panic and fear grips Uganda's health authorities as the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo reports fresh cases of Ebola in the northern Kivu province. The Ministry of Health has dispatched surveillance teams to districts neighboring the country to carry out risk assessment.
In August 2018, Ebola broke out in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which intensified surveillance on Uganda's borderline to counter any Ebola case from the DRC. Uganda Ministry of Health was shifted to put in place control and preventive measures, which included border screening and vaccination of frontline health workers. The Ministry of Health is re-strengthening Ebola preventive measures following fresh reports of Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Ministry of Health, we've already been informed about the resurgence of Ebola in Democratic Republic of Congo in the northern Kivu province, and as a ministry already today we had our national task force meeting, and a team is going to be dispatched to the high risk districts to conduct risk assessment. But in the meantime we have already alerted the districts to intensify screening at the points of entry and also surveillance in order to be able to detect any cases that might be imported.
The Ministry of Health is working on developing communication messages about the prevention of Ebola.
We are going to also intensify risk communication to ensure that the population is aware about the signs and symptoms of Ebola, which is a hemorrhagic disease which presents with blood, passing out of blood, vomiting blood, fever and high temperature. So already all that is going to be kick-started.
The 2018 Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo was the second largest after the one in West Africa that broke out in 2014 to 2016. Adiana Kute, UBC.
And the National Resistance Movement political party has now settled in Kasese district for scooping most of the political positions. I beg your pardon, that the NRM MPs elect in different regions have tasked political actors to reflect their governance on the rule of law in the run-up to the 2026 presidential polls. The National Youth MPs elect were concerned that there is gross escalation in the number of abductions despite present policies and laws. Shaidat Nasaku has more.
The NRM members of Parliament elect from Central, Eastern, Western and Northern regions have today converged at the party headquarters in Chadondo to reiterate their plans for this term of leadership. These have committed to serving peace and unity for the change they need.
We are very much determined to ensuring that we secure the future in the coming term. We reaffirm our devotion and commitment to serve the interests of the young people.
We do not want to leave anything regarding the young people unattended to. We have to work together. It's time to work, not time for grudges.
Poverty does not know the color, the height of the individual. We must stand as a team for the unity of this country and desist from any uncivil and unruly nature of the political terrains that a few individuals had taken this country toward.
That whatever program that the government wants to roll out for the young people, we request that there be high involvement of the young people.
Because we are going to act as a linkage between them and the government programs available for the youths.
Youths have been encouraged to focus on innovation, enterprise in their reign of leadership, since government is committed on attracting investments and investors to the country.
The inclusion of young people at the core of the decision-making of government projects, of youth development initiatives is very important to see that our locally suitable solutions are put into context and young people's capacities are built.
These have also promised to task government, explain the missing gaps within the information flow that seem to create an informed community about government programs. The youths are the most affected when it comes to fake news.
To sanitize the citizens, the young people of this country, and take the correct information to them the correct government information to them.
Member of Parliament-elect Eastern Region Bernard Odoe has cautioned all political actors to use rule of law and the available policies on those that have fallen victims of abductions instead of playing blame games.
Let's adhere to the rule of law. If your person has been arrested, the law provides for habeas corpus.
These youth members of Parliament-elect have asked youths to take advantage of all the available opportunities for their growth, since white-collar jobs are not enough with the growing population. Shaidat Nasaku, UBC.
And police are investigating circumstances under which one of their own died after his body was found hanging on a tree in the Kawa division. Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police Spokesperson Luke Owesijide identified the letters James Sochan, who was attached to the Ministry of Water and Environment.
Residents of Banda, a Kampala suburb, woke up to a sad moment when a police officer's body was found hanging on a tree in what looked like a suicide aftermath. The area police officers, with the help of a sniffer dog, were seen studying the scene before lowering the body off the tree. The deceased was found still in possession of some items like phones. Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police Spokesperson Luke Owesijide identified the late as James Ochan, who was attached to the Ministry of Water and Environment.
We were able to identify him by a phone that was in one of his trousers. He was putting on a police trouser and a casual shirt on top. And more details, of course, will be availed as they come.
Residents say the deceased was not known in the area. They, however, allege that it could have been a well-planned murder disguised to look like a suicide.
Naye omwami ayese tetumulabangako tetumumanyi ate n'ekitwewunyisizza ng'ayambadde engoye za poliisi. Kitegeeza alina gye yagiddwa okuleetebwa wano ate mu kuleetebwa buli kimu ne kimulekebwamu kye kitwewunyisizza.
Alabika si wa mu kitundu kino kubanga tewannaba omuntu yenna nti amumanyi ate kiteeberezebwa nti oba poliisi kubanga empaleera ya poliisi
yejjezza engeeti yansobodde kulengejja yandikonye ku ttaka eye alaga ati gamba yattidde oluti ne bamuleeta buleesa bamugjewa ku kyalo ki tumanyi naffe.
The body has been taken to a city mortuary for a post-mortem as investigations continue. Nakawa Division Mayor, also Nakawa East Member of Parliament-elect Ronald Barimwezo, blamed this incident on the many idle minds occasioned by the partial lockdown that has left many youth out of school but wandering aimlessly.
Tulina bingi nnyo by'okwebuuza era tusaba poliisi n'ebitongole byonna ebya security bw'abanga ono abadde waabwe naye nga yakoleddwako bw'ati obanga yawambiddwa mu ngeri eno bw'ati ng'ayambadde yunifoomu yaabwe then tuli ku bunkenke ng'ensi era tusaba investigation zikolebwe mangu naddala ku kiwamba abantu kino ekigenda mu maaso.
Meanwhile, police have arrested over 50 youth from downtown Kampala in an operation that intended to rid the city of petty theft cases that were allegedly on the increase.
And we had information that people who participate in this kind of crime of snatching, mugging, were hiding in the trenches downtown Kampala, and we had to go down there, extracted most of them. Over 56 have been arrested and are currently here. Some have even been found with the suspected stolen property. So we are investigating and we shall be letting you know.
Lydia Chomkama, UBC News.
And with that, we take a quick break. When we return, more details. You are watching News Tonight.
The day the world stopped,
was the day we found where to go. From now on, we are not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Hello, how are you? Tell me, how do you do? We're here to show some appreciation for the things you do. Sent you for today, and they sent you for tomorrow. Sent you for every time and everywhere you go. We love you so, and we enjoy life with you. We are happy, happy, happy to know that we will go with you. That's why we say thank you, thank you, thank you, yeah.
MTN ekwebaza nti thank you olw'okutulonda mu bangi. Kozesa MTN mobile money bundles olw'empeereza ya MTN endala yonna weefunire thank you points gy'okoma okukozesa gy'okoma okufuna thank you points tweyama okubaweereza emyaka mingi egijja mu maaso nga tuli ffenna. Thank you.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Sigala nga wuyinze ku network ya 4G esingira ddala mu Uganda obudde bwonna woli ng'okozesa Airtel 4G Pocket MiFi ku shillings emitwalo 12 mu enkumi 3 ejjirako GB 15 ez'obwereere okumala omwezi mulamba. Osobola n'okuyungako bannabalala 10 omulundi gumu. Nyiga *755* okufuna GB 15 ez'obwereere. Awo nno olyoka owangalira ku internet. Kyalira edduuka lya Airtel lyonna erikuli okumpi ogyefunire leero. Airtel, the smartphone network, erungamizibwa Uganda Communications Commission.
Your safety while using electricity starts with having a certified technician to wire your premises. Do not use Camufo.
Pocket. Chisaka, now that the wiring is complete, how do I get power?
No. I'll get you power in my own way. And you don't even have to worry about the bills. I'll bring them myself. Is your neighbor there?
She went to work.
Does she have power?
Yes, she has.
If your neighbor has power, you have power. Desist from illegal connections because they are not only dangerous, but could lead to prosecution and death.
Chisaka, what is this? Oh my God, I'm from Umeme.
I did not say Umeme. I am from Umeme. At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we are not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
Welcome back. In tonight's new leading story, the Supreme Court has dismissed a petition by National Unity Platform seeking to have evidence in their earlier petition amended. In effect, the Supreme Court ruling has held to go by the original evidence the National Unity Platform adduced in their earlier petition to the court. However, earlier in the day, the lead counsel to Robert Chagulanyi's legal team, Medet Segona, had requested court in his submissions to admit their application seeking to amend their earlier petition, saying that it would help court to carry out effective investigations into the controversial matter in the petition. In his report, Chagulanyi's lawyer, Segona, says the spirit of seeking for an amendment was not to bring in new evidence in court, however, to show court the illegalities from the respondents in the recent conducted elections.
Court finds that the issue of qualification of the first respondent raised in the proposed amended petition is a new matter which comes outside the limitation period for filing a presidential election petition. Therefore, we disallow it. In the event we disallow this application, we shall give the detailed reasons in the final judgment. Cost shall be imposed. Dated at Kampala is 9th day of February 2021 and signed by members of the panel.
The principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byaruhanga, in his submissions told the court.
Relatedly, the National Unity Platform prayers to court seeking for an amendment have suffered a stillbirth after the principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byaruhanga, used the 2016 John Patrick Amama Mbabazi versus Museveni case to form the basis upon which the NUP's prayers for an amendment to their earlier petition fell off the cliff to be considered as it was in its original format. Now, in this report, treading carefully with the facts, the Attorney General told court that the Mbabazi versus Museveni court ruling of 2016 pointed to a fact in its recommendations that it required time to file and deliver any verdict in any petition, a position that the very Supreme Court has concurred with in its ruling to maintain the status quo of adhering to NUP's evidence in their earlier petition.
The principal legal advisor to government, the Attorney General William Byaruhanga, in his submissions told the court that the pleadings were by law closed yesterday, 8th February 2021, and at the moment, all parties had finished putting in their responses and submissions.
First of all, the court, my lord, did recognize, as you were saying, and part of the exchanges were, just to quote a few, that the pleadings, the court said the pleadings were closed by law yesterday. This is a presidential election petition. From the time a respondent files his, a petitioner files his petition and a respondent files his response, the pleadings are closed. The court is required to start hearing this matter 5 days from that time. Now you bring in a petition which we haven't seen. That's what the court was saying then. And nobody has seen. What do we do? Are you asking us to amend the rules and so on and so forth? And the argument by the other counsel was that the ones that you are hearing, I think now, somewhat similar, that these matters are so important, you need to allow us to bring everything to the court. Now, basically, my lords, that was the background, the genesis of this issue about the dispute about time frames.
Attorney General also cited the 2016 Amama Mbabazi presidential election petition, saying that the required time to file and deliver any verdict in any petition was raised by the Supreme Court to its recommendations.
The petition has come to this Honorable Court under sections 98 and 100 of the Civil Procedure Act that provide as follows. And by the way, while I was still discussing
election petition number 1 of 2016, the recommendations by the Supreme Court to the Attorney General were taking into consideration the fact that the petitioners then were complaining about the lack of sufficient time. The recommendations which were enacted recently, the Attorney General followed the recommendations of the Supreme Court and went ahead to ensure that these recommendations were abided, and these recommendations resulted into the extensions of time. For example, the day of holding a new election, if the current one is annulled, the time of presentation of your petition. Of course, sadly, the only thing that was not increased was the time for the reply by the respondent.
On this, the petitioner's time was extended from 10 days to 15 days. Beruhanga then prayed to court to dismiss the application, saying it lacks merits on all grounds for court to grant it.
Well, I submit that the third respondent will suffer prejudice if this honorable court allows the amendments, because the proposed amendments are intended, in our opinion, to defeat the respondent's answers to the petition as they attempt to respond to the deficiencies raised in the respondent's answer. You see, in our view, it is disingenuous for the petitioner to now come to court seeking your...
And that does it for News Tonight. For now, I will return at 10 o'clock, but for now we'll leave you with a weather update. Good evening.
We continue to see mostly dry and sunny weather across much of the country, and also temperatures are equally high, so that explains the hot conditions that we have, most especially across northern Uganda. Now, we are seeing that we still have those dry winds coming in towards the country, and that explains the reduced wet weather activities. Now, the good news is that we're starting to see some of the rain-bearing clouds extending towards the country, and that could bring us some rains. Now, Wednesday morning brings with it scattered showers. Those will be across the Lake Victoria Basin, as well as parts of the Lake Victoria Islands. Otherwise, the rest of the country, we shall have mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine. Later in the afternoon, we see more rains developing across central part of the country, as well as the Lake Victoria Basin, and also southwestern and western Uganda. For Kasese, Mbarara and Kabale, you can't expect to see those light showers. Otherwise, the rest of the country will remain with sunny intervals. At daytime highs, we have a maximum of 28 that will be across Kampala, Jinja 29, and a very warm day for northern Uganda, as well as the Karamoja region. That also includes parts of eastern Uganda, where we have a maximum of 32. Also likely to have temperatures go up to 25 that will be across Kabale Highlands. And some of the wild cities we have for you, we're forecasting sunny intervals across Mombasa. Snow for Moscow and Paris, we're seeing Paris at freezing point. Also likely to have cloudy conditions for London, and a sunny day is forecast for Dubai at a maximum of 26 degrees. Well, that wraps up tonight's weather report. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Brought to you by... At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. Islamic finance continues to seduce